We're live. It's Friday night. It's 8:30 p.m. Central. So that
It's
means
time to party.
It's time. It's time to party. It's time to rock. We're going to get to it. What are we here to rock out about? Or who are we walking out? Rocking out. No, please don't walk out.
No.
I'm Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. That's why you're all here, because you know me, you know the channel. But we're here with Jeremy Eden. He is back. The writer-director of Hello Apocalypse, former and obviously current Kicking the Seat podcast host. You've got a new movie that is in production right now, and there's also an Indiegogo campaign that people can contribute to, and the information for that is down below. So if you feel so moved, please do and give to that during the course of this conversation. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Hello Apocalypse. What is it? Where is the movie right now? When's it coming out? How will the fundraising funds be used to bring it over the finish line? But before we get to any of that, Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a wild time here in the Simmons household, which is why it's great to be able to step aside and do these kinds of fun little film talks. Now, I don't think I've done a live filmmaker interview on this. Usually they're kind of pre-recorded, so I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to be going out on the ledge, sir. Yeah.
So I feel untethered.
Well, that's a fun place to be, or it can be, unless you're talking about being out in space. Is it just me, or when you're watching one of those outer space movies and they go for a spacewalk and someone spins out, like in 2001 or in Gravity, do you get like a fundamental, like, bone-chilling terror?
Dude, Gravity remains one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I'm not even kidding. Like any slasher movie that I've seen, they're fine. Any kind of psychological horror movie, like, they don't really do it for me. But seeing Sandra Bullock just spinning and thinking she could just spin there forever. She could just be spinning forever. Like, that terrified me. I've only seen that movie twice because it left such a hard impression on me of, like, man, space is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, forget Alien, forget, Event Horizon, just like that scene was bonkers. And I only saw Gravity once. I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and because it's such a big screen experience, I vowed I would never watch it on any other format. I'm still waiting.
We covered it on 90 over 90. I don't know if it was a released one or one that will be eventually released, but yeah, like, I've only seen, because of the same thing, that it's a big screen experience, and I was reluctant to watch it a second time, but I was glad I did. But now I don't need to watch it again for a long time.
Oh, well, we're not here to talk about. We're here to talk about something that has gravity, that is very heavy, very important, but also at the same time very lighthearted, and that is Hello Apocalypse. Tell me about this, Jeremy. I'm going to ask you the annoying filmmaker question. Where did this idea come from?
Hello Apocalypse came to me over 10 years ago. It was several little pieces that eventually came together to one thing. The characters in this movie, my character, the main character of the movie, Talon St, along with his bandmates, drummer Blaine Zander and bassist Cyrus Long. These characters go back 20 years for us. We've been doing these characters since we were in high school. We were in a performing arts media class, and we were assigned to do a 5 to 10 minute documentary in class. The first half of the year was stage, and the second half you just spent all focusing on screen stuff. So the assignment for the semester was to make a 5 to 10 minute documentary. We said, we're going to make an hour and 45-minute movie. And it was basically like a blatant ripoff of This Is Spinal Tap. We weren't even trying to hide it, because we were just in high school, and we were just like, well, let's just do it. It doesn't matter. And we showed it to the history teacher, who we were very friendly with, and who also happened to be engaged at the time to the drama director, and we were big in drama. We showed it to him, and one thing that he said, which I, in retrospect, was definitely one of those adult placating kind of compliments or things that you say, where he was just like, I'd love to see more character development. And I took that to heart, and I never stopped developing the characters. So we made that first movie. After I graduated from high school, we made a second movie because I was like, well, I don't want to be restricted by high school's limitations. I want to be able to swear and say all the things that we want to say. So we made a second movie, and then that was it for those characters for a long time. But then in about 2009, I think it was, I started producing live sketch shows in Chicago at Gorilla Tango. And the very first show that we did to really kick us off was a Marilyn's Dress concert. We performed a 1-hour acoustic set of Marilyn's Dress that had videos, and it was scripted. And so we did that, and then everybody was like, I'm tired of playing these characters. We're getting too old for this. So I was like, okay. At the end of the show, we shot a video where we're in a car explosion, and then it just said Marilyn's Dress is dead, and that was it. That was how we ended the show, and that was gonna be it for a while until I got that wild hair up my ass again, and I was like, let's just do another show. And they were like, you killed off the characters. How do we do this? And in my further development, I was just like, well, Talon set it all up. He was faking his death to avoid loan sharks. And so we did a second concert with them. And then after we did that second concert, I was just like, we should make another movie. And everyone was like, that's a stupid idea. We need to stop doing this. And I was like, no. It'll be a found footage movie. And that was the joke. It was just like, we'll make a Marilyn 3, and it won't matter that the characters are already dead because it'll be a found footage movie. That's all that remained for like many years. And then I started thinking about it more deeply, and I started connecting pieces together. And then I was just like, no, this is an actual movie. Like, this doesn't have to be connected to anything before. But we've spent 20 years establishing, building these characters. Like, we can jump into this and really like know what we're doing, and it could be really good. And so a couple of years ago, I set myself a New Year's resolution to write the script finally, after it had just been gestating in my brain for like a decade. I need to get it out. I needed to get it on paper, and I did. And then you were there for the read through. The read through was successful. I got confirmation that I wasn't completely delusional, that my stuff was funny. It actually worked. And I was like, okay, we're off to the races. Let's go. Let's make it.
Was there any part of you that thought, well, damn, now I've got to commit and finish this thing? Was there any part of you that was hoping, well, maybe people confirm that those nagging voices in my head that this isn't funny and I'll be off the hook?
No, I was just too confident in the story and the premise of it that it's just one of those things that I just like, I fully believe that it'll work. And so no, the idea of actually having to live up to that expectation is honestly just more a challenge that I enjoy taking on for myself. And so, yeah, it wasn't there was no concern on my part other than like, I hope I can make it. Like, that's the only thing.
When you say you hope you can, are you talking about like raising the funds or logistics or all of it? Because I got to tell you, the table read that you graciously invited me to, that was it August of last year, August or September?
Yeah, I can't. I think it was. Gosh, I don't even remember. It was hot in there though. I just remember that it was hot in that building because the air wasn't on, so it had to be in the summer.
If we look up the Saturday that the movie what is it? The artificial intelligence movie opened up with John Cho, like the smart home devices go crazy. Yeah, that one. That was that weekend. So we can go back and check the tape.
I love how like people like us compartmentalize dates and are just like, well, that was the weekend that this movie came out, so that had to be like
every significant date in my life tracks to a film.
Yep. I can remember birthdays because I was like, well, her birthday is the day that the Cable Guy came out. So,
when we met in that office building in downtown Evanston, and it was just amazing. All the people that showed up, people that you've known and worked with and loved for, probably decades and in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
just showing up to hang out and go through this script read through. And some of whom, if not many of whom, I imagine are now involved in the full production. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell me about building that kind of community of creatives over the years, and what's the secret to getting them to, you're no longer kids. You've got like lives and families and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're gonna go make a movie. Tell me about that. What's the glue?
I don't know. And that is a very, I've been so focused on proceeding with the campaign that when I do take these moments to actually reflect and think, my God, like so many people came out for that read through, so many people have shown support for this already. Uh, it's overwhelmingly heartwarming in ways, Um, I slowly built this group of people over the years of working on those sketch shows that we did. We did, an annual variety show every April 20th. Marijuana was the name of that. It was a show that is no longer relevant. I was just thinking about that recently. It's just like this was all before marijuana was even medicinally legal in Illinois. So most of those sketches were based on the premise of it being illegal, and it just doesn't work anymore. But yeah, it was because it was an annual thing. The same people kept coming back. They enjoyed it. It was always a sold out show because it was always the one day a year that we would do it. And it was always very fun. We make it very fun. I consider myself to be a very easy person to work with or for in certain cases. Like I'm pretty easy as a director. When people have their ideas, I'm very open and collaborative to that. So I just think that, that rapport with everybody over the course of 10 years just slowly that solidified. It was once hot melt glue has really become solid. And in some cases they were friends that I've had, like the main, obviously one of the characters in this movie is played by my brother, so I've known him for quite a while. And the other main character is played by my buddy Rick, who I've known since the 6th grade. So the three of us have a very long history, and then everybody else has, also a long history with me. And yeah, to bring everybody together for it, for the read through specifically, was very exciting. And yeah, felt amazing to have everybody there and come out for it, and continues to remain amazing as this campaign goes on.
Well, and I got to say, one of the coolest things about being in that room was, I think people who aren't into the arts, they hear read through and they think literally it's people sitting around reading lines off of a script. But no, there's were full on performances.
Yeah.
Before the movie had even been officially like cast or I guess you're the one greenlighting it, but deciding to move forward. But it's just a lot of fun and very cool to hear these interpretations of things, to hear, it's one thing to read something on the page, but then there was a moment when a character kind of changes voice, and it's integral to the story, and you just wouldn't quite get that if it weren't being spoken aloud. But speaking of the story, you had mentioned this is Spinal Tap, and I think when you'd first mentioned that to me, I was like, okay, it's a mockumentary, but we've got Spinal Tap. That's like the Mount Everest of mockumentaries, right? Taking something like that on is quite a feat. And you got to be, I think, really good to capture, to not be thought of as like, oh, it's a Spinal Tap ripoff. You have infused this with a completely different genre. In fact, a couple of different genres to make it something that I don't think that I've seen before. You gave this away in the campaign, which is I was kind of scratching my head there because they mentioned aliens, Jeremy.
Well, if you remember, Ian, there is still a slight twist to those aliens.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's one of those things where I even debated. I was just like, I can't. selling people on the idea of it, on just the Spinal Tap portion of it, I just didn't think was going to be enough to get people fully interested, because they have that, you know? So really, for the campaign purposes, I did decide, okay, I'm going to reveal a large portion of that twist, because that really is what the movie is about. I don't even, like, you know, it comes a question of like, if this movie were being marketed right now, would you want to reveal that or not? And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, it's kind of the hook of the movie, you know? It's great if we can get into a world in the future, you know, where this conversation is long forgotten by people and the campaign is long past, where we can, you know, rebuild that mystery, or that that rug pull could remain for a lot of people. But in this stage, it was, I believe me, I debated, but yeah.
Well, and I think, the question was answered for me when I watched the campaign video, and I got to say, for as mildly disappointed as I was that was not going to be a giant reveal, I love the way that you did reveal it, because in the campaign video, which we're going to watch a little bit of in a bit, because it's got a scene from the film at the front of it, it's actually the thrust of it is you interviewing Talon. And it's kind of it's very, very well done. It's seamless.
Thank you.
Um,
It was
I,
tough.
I imagine I want to kind of ask you about how you pulled that off, but Talon, kind of, because he's the kind of the idiot rock star, he reveals the twist,
Yeah.
or the first part of the twist anyway, and it's like, oh man, that's so good. So tell me about setting up that scene. Was that like the old sitcom technique, or what did you do there?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I shot it before I even knew if I had the capability to edit it the way that I planned it to work out. But yeah, it was literally just 3 setups. I started um, in the center, or no, I started on a single of Talon, and I did all of Talon's lines single, and then I moved it to the wide shot, did Talon's half of it, and yeah, I just made sure that I set up the frame like perfectly Wes Anderson centered. And luckily there just happened to be, the place that I was using just happened to have like this perfect dividing line in the background, so it made it easy to line up the 2 sides. It was really just overlaying one side on the other. I literally just edited that on my phone. You know, it wasn't like I did it on Splice. It was Splice in combination with iMovie on my phone. So it wasn't anything extremely complex, but it was complicated nonetheless.
Wow. Now, I assume you're not shooting the movie on your phone.
No, that was just that campaign video.
So what are you using to shoot the film? I mean, are these cameras that you own? Are you renting them? Are you borrowing them?
No, so we for the first day of shooting, so I self-funded a single day of shooting because I wanted to have something to show people. I wanted to give people a flavor of what the movie is, in addition to the campaign pitch portion of it. And you know, I had the resources to be able to cover a day, so I hired a cinematographer for the day. Her name was Jordan Scooter, and she is a freelancer who works out of Chicago. And the job is hers if we get our full funding for the rest of the movie. So yeah, she shot the day. Honestly, I don't remember the exact camera that she has, but it was her kit that she had. So I just hired her for the day, and we're just gonna go forward from there, and hopefully she'll continue to work for the remainder of the movie.
That's something. This is going to sound really dumb, but I'd never thought about that. When I hear about, like, oh, we hired a cinematographer, I always thought, the equipment and the person kind of came separately. Like, you
Yeah,
hired someone to show up and use the equipment that you had rented or something, but it didn't commit. Like, they probably come with their own kits. Like, if you're hiring an artist, you don't necessarily furnish the paintbrushes.
right. Yeah, and I was in the same place too. I thought like, oh, I'm gonna have to rent a camera and all this other stuff, and then once it came to like finding somebody who could actually just physically shoot for the day, that's when I was like, oh, I realized she's got her own equipment. We can do with that. We rented a few extra things, mostly just lights. And yeah, that was all we needed for the day. It was one day on an RV, on a moving RV, and then a couple other things that we shot too.
Yeah, tell me about the RV, because I know that was like after the table read, and you're like, okay, I guess we're gonna make this thing. You're like, does anybody have an
Yeah.
RV we can use?
Well, yeah, because originally I was like, I just wanted to shoot a proof of concept, and I was just like, okay, well, if I can find somebody who has an RV or has access to an RV, then I could just borrow it. I can, shoot for a day, get the proof of concept, and go from there. And then it became apparent that I was going to have to rent an RV because nobody I knew had access to an RV. And I was like, okay, so if I'm going to rent an RV, I might as well go full out and just do a full day of shooting and just try to get everything on the RV in a day. So everything that we shot for that day, was kind of like my own proof of concept of just like, how am I going to direct a movie like this? Cause I've never directed on this scale before. I've directed small shorts. I've directed like a couple episodes of the web series we did years ago, but all the movie projects we've done so far have been directed by my brother Dan. So yeah, this was, and I was certainly familiar with, I directed all of the, for the most part, produced and directed all of the sketches and the sketch shows that we did. But I mean, I don't want to say that other people did have a hand in directing, but so yeah, it was just proving to myself that I'm like, am I even capable of directing? Can I do this? And I was like, yeah, okay, I got it. So yeah, that's what we did. It was weird because the original plan was, in my head, when I imagined making this movie for 10 years, it was going to be done the same way we did most of our projects and eventually did both An Intervention and The Golden Apron, which was that Kevin was going to be the DP. I was just going to, have in my head, without, it was kind of just an unspoken I was like, well, that's what we're going to do, right? It's going to be, Kevin's going to do the shooting it, and Pat will do the sound, and I'll direct it, and me and Dan and Rick will be in it. And, but yeah, Kevin moved to Florida, and it just slowly little details started to trickle out over the last year where I was just like, oh, this project is going to be done differently than I expected. And then there was the crisis of like, do I want to do it a different way than I'm used to? And ultimately I decided, yeah, because the story itself is too important to me. So I'm figuring it out as I go along. I've produced things before, but never on this scale. So it's definitely a fun, interesting challenge, to say the least.
Well, I want to pull over because we do have a couple of comments. My good friend and fellow filmmaker, I'm not a filmmaker. He's a fellow to you. You guys are fellow filmmakers, colleagues. You don't even know it. Sejua Ekanaika, dropping by for a bit, and movie sounds interesting. If you want to show it in Brooklyn at some point, let me know. Ian's got my email. So yeah.
Well, I will try to remember that a few years from now when it's ultimately finished.
Well, yeah, okay. And he also asked, how many films have you done earlier? I know you mentioned a couple of them, An Intervention and The Golden Apron. I Hate Theater, the movie from
yeah,
from ever ago.
That's our redheaded stepchild. That one,
and then also in the realm of the stage, Zombie Seinfeld. That was also a lot of fun. But yeah, so how many movies have you done like all together? Or I guess I know you said Dan has directed a lot of stuff, so a lot of them have kind of been collaborations with like wearing many hats, writing, producing, directing, acting.
Right. So yeah, the stage stuff we've done, dozens of things, one of which was a play called I Hate Theater that took place all in 1 hour of real time right before a cast was about to go out and perform a sketch comedy show. It was supposed to be like us backstage. And then the opportunity came a few years later to make that into a movie. And Dan went to Columbia College for filmmaking. So it, at that time was still his dream to make a movie. And so, yeah, when that opportunity came up, I was like, well, let's adapt I Hate Theater. And what it's so funny because what I originally wanted to do was essentially a 90-minute unbroken thing about putting on a production, which eventually became Birdman. So like we were going to be Birdman before Birdman, man. So that was what I originally wanted to do with it when I had imagined it, but it didn't work out that way. We ended up shooting it at the Skokie Theater mostly because the owners of Gorilla Tango owned the Skokie Theater space at that time. So they let us use that for the production. And that was not without its challenges. And again, it's also a movie that has some content that we're not fully proud of anymore. Some stuff in there is genius and hilarious. There's this funny scene where like 3 people are throwing up on each other that is only in the extended cut. That's hilarious, was never in the play. But yeah, there's also overall the some story elements to that we no longer feel super comfortable with. So yeah, that was Dan's first directorial movie, and I was the main, we played ourselves in that movie, essentially fictional versions of ourselves. So I was by default the main character of that. And then Dan made an intervention, and I had a supporting role in that. I told him, I was like, after the first movie, I was like, I want to play a guy who has no impact on the plot whatsoever. Like, I don't want to be the main driving force of anything. So I kind of became this background character, the supporting character in it. That was a lot of fun. That we shot in one day in like live 8 hours of time, just pretty much one straight day. So that was the second movie. And then Dan made a third movie called Villain, which is only available to watch on YouTube because of all of the legal clearances that he didn't want to bother trying to get. It takes place in Chicago's C2E2, like during a convention. So there's all that copyright material that he was just like, if it's on YouTube, no one can fight me on it. It's not monetized either, I think.
Right, I recommend it. I've seen Villain, talked to Dan about it several years ago, and yeah, but yeah, I can only imagine just being on the floor of that. You're gonna catch like 5,000 different logos and costumes and things. So yeah,
it's be a legal nightmare to try and release that movie officially.
Yeah.
And then The Golden Apron, which just released a few months ago. It's available on Fossum and Filmzy. For streaming for free, so you can watch watch that movie totally free on both of those platforms.
Cool. So yeah, the scope of this movie, and I think we should maybe talk a bit about what Hello Apocalypse actually is, without straying too far into spoilers, because you kind of set up that the characters that you had created, back in high school, you kind of set those archetypes, and you've made a couple of films with them in it. But this is a distinct story of its own that has some kind of larger implications beyond just this rock band trying to go out for one last hurrah. So can you kind of set it up for us?
Yeah, it's a movie that it's about friendship. That's really what the movie is at its core about. Yes, it's about a band going on the road, and yes, there is this global catastrophe that happens, but really the drama of the movie comes from friends who are getting older, who are no longer as close as they used to be, and the difficulty of having to come to that realization that your relationships are no longer the same things that they once were. Friendships evolve over time, people change over time, and your place in everybody's heart shifts over time, and that's what this movie is really getting at. So yeah, Talon St. um, is the front man of a band that broke up a few years ago, and through his own kind of midlife crisis reasons, decides he needs to go on the road one more time with the band. Um, and then as the movie goes on, you realize that it's not about that fame and glory for him. It's really just about the genesis of this movie. The reason that I decided I need to make this movie comes in a moment where Talon has a confession of, I just miss playing with my friends. That's what this movie is about. Playing with your friends, literally, in a band, but being almost 40 and wishing you could be young again and just dicking around and not having the same responsibilities that you once had, and having to realize that your lives are different now. That's what this movie is about. And yeah, there's a global catastrophe that happens at the same time. It's a little thing.
Yeah, it's we're there's a bit of an age difference between us, but I can tell that wistfulness doesn't go away after 40.
No, yeah. I mean, like, I'll be 40 at the end of this year. And like I said, that it was it felt like such a silly, but such a poignant line of like, I just miss playing with my friends. For a 40-year-old man to say, I miss playing with my friends is kind of a funny thought, but it's also a deeply sad thought at times too, when you're, especially when you realize that, you used to be major parts of each other's lives, and one day you just weren't, and you have to accept that and grow and from that alone.
Yeah. I want to again, going back to the Spinal Tap thing, because I think this is very important. That movie was a complete farce. Rob Reiner was a genius, along with Christopher Guest and everyone who participated in it. But it was all jokes all the time, and in jokes and references within in jokes and references. Hello Apocalypse, based on the script that I heard, not so much read, but and participated in. To your point, there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of kind of introspection mixed in with the comedy. It's still very, very funny all throughout, but you do get these kind of moments where you kind of putting on the brakes and saying, wow, this is about something deeper here. Was there any like thought of doing it more as a straight comedy drama, if that makes any sense, rather than this sort of like the more farcical elements? Because for a lot of it, like Talon is a cartoon, and the other people are more the straight men and women kind of reacting to him.
Mm-hmm.
But was there ever a non-extreme version of this where it was more like, I don't know, like what if Marky Mark's Rockstar was a bit lighter in tone?
No, there wasn't. Because for me, I mean, it existed as a joke for so many years. Nobody took the idea of making a found footage Marilyn's Dress movie seriously. But it was just that in of itself was a farcical idea. But then once I connected the dots, and largely that came from my brother's music, which is the music in this movie, which we can talk about in a little bit. But yeah, for me, it was never about like the joke came first, and then I found a way to make that joke meaningful. So there was no other way of doing it. It's this or nothing as far as I'm concerned.
All right, well, you brought it up, man. So let's talk about the music in this music centric rockumentary.
Yeah, that's what really got the ball rolling for me. Years ago, my brother was in a band called Modern Chemists with Kevin, our friend who was the DP and collaborator on many of these projects, and their friend Pat. He was the drummer. And so they recorded an EP as they were starting. There was like 6 songs, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good, but then like in their second or third year, they recorded another set of 6 songs. And I don't know if it's because he's my brother specifically, or if it's just because it truly does work for me, but it's one of my favorite pieces of music. And it's designed kind of that way. It's like 6 songs that flow into one into the other. Um, and the first and last song kind of bookend the context of the album. So when I started listening to that on repeat a lot because I was a big fan of it, I started realizing that the story of the album, whether it was intended or not by my brother, seemed to really parallel the things that I had put into Talon over the years. So the EP is called Oh Yeah, You Are the Best. And the first song on there, the lyrics are, the way that I always interpreted it was it's essentially a guy it sounds like it's written from the point of view of a guy who's so broken that he needs to lie to his own ego to inflate himself up a little bit. Like that's, and again, I don't even know if that was how deep Dan was thinking about it. I've never really asked him about this, and I'm actually planning to have a more deep Zoom conversation with him to talk about the music and the content of it and how I, find the parallels. But that's when, for me, once I imagined Talon singing that song, I was like, oh my God, that's like a perfect song for the character of Talon. And so for years, it was just I started thinking about those songs and how they could track for a story if you were to like use that as a, like a, not a one for one comparison, but like a Dark Side of the Moon kind of thing, where if you were to like just, the story of this should parallel the story of this other thing. And if you were to play the music in this order in the movie, it still makes sense for the story. So I kind of lost my train of thought there, but that was essentially, it was me connecting the dots of like, oh my God, the story of this album really makes sense for the story that I kind of could imagine happening to Talon. And then it became, just something of just like, it existed in my brain for so long. And I was like almost afraid to work on it because I was like, I'm essentially going to have to steal my brother's music and put it into my character in order for this story to work based on the history of all the characters and stuff. And so eventually I wrote it because I was like, I just have to write it the way that I see it and I can talk to him about it afterwards. And luckily he has been very accommodating and accepting of the fact that my use of the songs is a very different situation from his original EP. So he's been very cool with it so far. I don't know if he's secretly holding a grudge or like hates the idea, but as far as I know, he's cool with it. And yeah, like the script literally, it says it says Hello Apocalypse, written by Jeremy Eden, very loosely inspired by the music of Modern Chemists. Like that's the actual title page of the script.
Wow. That's a lot, and I think that also speaks to the layers that are going on in this movie, or that will be going on once the movie is done. Because when I think about, I really do feel like this is going to be a different kind of beast. Because when I think it's like a rockumentary, but it's also got this alien, kind of subgenre and another subgenre that I don't want to get into because that might spoil some things. But it does seem very funny and very weird. But the music, the way that you're describing it, and the way it kind of resonates with some of the themes that compelled you to create the story, it's not, again, Spinal Tap. It's not Big Bottom or Stonehenge,
Right.
or something. It's actual music, which, I think it's an interesting distinction, because when you think about it, like a lot of these like 80s and 90s rock stars, they might be ridiculous kind of in their personal lives with the big hair and the crazy egos and going after chicks. But then you look at the music, a lot of it is kind of good time party stuff. But then you've got the ballads, which are deeper and kind of belie the outward image of, the ridiculous, public face of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. um, I had a point that I was going to make, but
Sorry, it probably
Slipped
got
my
lost
mind.
in my
No,
nonsense.
I was lost in listening to you talk.
um, well, let's listen to some other people talk, or at least read, because we've got some more comments. Boy, do we have them. Let's see. I got to
Yeah, let's do
find
it.
Okay. All right. So Sejiwa says, don't take too long to finish it. Hong Sang-soo does 2 to 3 movies a year now. Fast is good. Yes, Sejiwa, but as we have discussed on Indie Scene, making 2 to 3 movies a year, especially in the case of Hong Sang-soo, is not necessarily something to recommend. Although you'll be proud of me, Sejiwa. I fielded a question from a fellow friend and filmmaker the other day who has said, who's a director that I probably have no idea who that is and whose films I should check out? I recommended Hong Sang-soo. So we'll see if this person talks to me afterwards. Let's see. All right. But, take as much time as you need. Fiction features are a challenge. Yes. I went to Columbia College for a bit in the early 1990s. All right. Oh, Petty, our Argentinian super fan. Hey, Ian, what is Mr. Eden most proud of? His role as director or writer of the script?
I'll tell you, both. I was incredibly proud to finish the script. I am notoriously the type of person who will often start something and then something kind of gets in the way and then it gets put on the back burner and often I don't get back to it. So I did set myself a goal, and other New Year's resolutions have not lasted as strongly as that one did, but I said, I need to write it by the end of this year, which was a couple of years ago. 2004 I think is when I finished the first, or 2023 I think is when I finished the first draft, and then I worked on it again throughout 2024, if my timeline is correct. I've been working on it for so long. So yeah, I'm super proud of the fact that I finished it. Because the other thing that is new about this for me is that I've never actually written something of this scale by myself either. Dan and I have written many of our things together. Dan created his own story for the 2 mockumentaries that he made. I largely kind of was given the freedom to invent my characters in both cases, but for the, otherwise it was all Dan's information and Dan's details that he created. So for me, beyond a sketch or the handful of burlesque shows that I wrote, I had never written something this big before. So I didn't even know if I could do it. It was really important for me to make sure that it structurally worked as a movie. Like, it wasn't enough for me to just write a movie. It's like, it has to actually work and function as a movie, as weird as I want it to be, it has to be a movie at its core. So yeah, that's, I would say, is the overlying thing that I'm more proud of right now. I've only done the 1 day of directing. But the other weird thing I can say is that I am kind of proud already of the directing, because the shots exist in my head and like have existed in my brain. So as long as I capture exactly how I see it in my brain, I'll be very proud of the way that it turns out. And so far, I'm very happy with the way that it looks. I'm happy that I made my day. That's another thing too, is like, because I had never done this kind of thing before, is like, okay, I know what I want to shoot that day. So let's make sure that I get it all. And yes, I got everything that I wanted that day to get done. So yeah, I'm happy of my efficiency as a director so far, and I'm happy with the amount of work and effort that I put into writing the script.
Excellent. I want to pull over real quick to ask about something you mentioned. You wanted to make sure that it worked as a movie. But you were working on this kind of on your own. You deliberately wanted to I guess, prove to yourself that you could kind of do it and lock in, as the kids say. How did you, once it's done, or you think it's done, and you want to go back and make sure that it's structurally sound, did you have a sounding board? Did anyone else like see this or help you through it or give notes? Or did you just like sit with it and like refine it as you needed to?
No, I was really lucky. I was So there's a director, Pete Hewitt, who directed Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and Zoom, the Tim Allen movie, among a Garfield the movie, the first Garfield live action movie. So he was doing we had interviewed him one time for 90 Under 90, the podcast that I co-host with my brother Dan, because we were talking about Zoom on the show. So this was a time where I was trying to get writers and directors and people to talk to them, and we were doing our 9 questions with ... series. So we had a Zoom conversation with him, and then months or a year or so later, he sent me an email and was like, "Hey, I am doing a class of called Soup to Nuts, and it's about, it's basically taking your idea from concept to script in 8 weeks. You work with him virtually." And so I told him, and he basically was just asking me, he's like, "You guys have the podcast. Do you know anybody in the industry, or who's looking to get into the industry, who's looking to write something that might be interested?" And I was like me, actually, I need some help with something. I've actually already written it, but I could really use some help refining it. So I did not the full 8 weeks with him, but I did like a brief shortened version of that where we kind of focused just on refining it a little bit. And, he was really good because working with him helped me fall in love with the rewriting process, something that I've always hated. If I wrote a sketch, it was like one draft and done. It's like, if I have to go back and do this again, the comedy's going to be dead for me. Like I have to, it's one and done. That's it. Same thing with the burlesque shows that I wrote. It was just kind of like, I thought a lot about them, but once it came time to actually put the words on the page, that's it. That's it. You get what you get. The one, that's how it was. And so, I've always avoided rewriting, but I knew I would have to do it for this movie. And he just asked all the right questions that helped me really think more about the story and, hone it into more of just the structure that I needed. And, much to my surprise, I was pretty much there. Just years of watching movies on 90 Under 90 and, and just as a movie fan in general, I guess I had absorbed through osmosis enough story structure that I was able to, approximate that as best I could. And the other thing that I did was there's a handful of random influences on this movie. So I just kind of would look at those movies and compare them to my movie and just see like, what's happening at this point, what's happening in my point. And, they all seem like, okay, here's their, midpoint twist. Here's mine. Just making sure I had all those things that need to be in a script. So yeah, working with him really helped. And then I've just, continued to refine little bits here and there as much as I can.
Without giving anything away, has the script changed significantly since that table read? Minus like little tweaks or something, but is there like new subplots, or are you cutting stuff? Or
there's definitely a whole new there's actually, yes, there's some significant changes that I made even since the table read. I improved their Talon's sister is a character in the movie, and she was underwritten in the draft that we did at the table read. So I have improved that character greatly in a way that I feel like that's another thing that was important to me, is just like and Pete made me aware of this. He's like, he's British. He's like, there's not a lot of women in your movie, that and it's like, yeah, I know, but unfortunately the characters that I've been, it's just, they're all men. And, but I found ways to get other, females into the script. And therefore it was important for me to have them written well. Like, I was just like, I don't have many, but if they're going to be in there, I need them to count. So I definitely changed her. I added a scene, and then Dan and I were just joking at work. Dan and I work together now. And we were just joking the other day, and it's just like, I don't even know if I should mention this here, but aliens invade, and we thought it'd be, well, Dan brought it up initially, and then we were just kind of spitballing from there. But there is a slight chance I may have a character become pregnant with an alien baby. I don't know yet. It's a very strange idea, but I might work that in there too.
Well, you might have to boost the budget on that then, if you're going to have a delivery scene. And please avoid anything having to do with Alien versus Predator Requiem, because I don't know if you ever saw that, but there's a birthing scene in there that is.
No, I think it'd be more like the first Men in Black movie, if anything. They'll probably just spew a bunch of goo. No, I have no idea if that's even going to remain, but
hey, alien pregnancies, I love it. All right, let's see. So Julia says YouTube is good for movies, but people might have it taken down if copyright issues or if it gets big. We're talking about Villain specifically. These comments are going back a little bit. Do you think the film will come to Argentina? Petty is wondering.
I'm right now. I'm just hoping the film will come to America. So let me get one step at a time. But yeah, no, I hope that it can reach as wide as possible. I'm manifesting a breakout indie hit. So, let's see where we go.
All right. What made you want to do a live pod about this movie, Ian? It's a rare and useful thing for a new movie. Well, there's a campaign going on, and I'm a big fan of Jeremy and Dan's work. And going back to the days of the burlesque shows, and even before that, I think my timeline's a bit fuzzy because I'm getting old. But
no, I know what it. I go
Once
ahead.
Upon a Rom-Com, the Bill Pullman story. Was that the first time that we connected on anything?
That was the first time we. Yeah. We. I remember you did that interview with us in the basement of Gorilla Tango.
Yes.
And then you ended up reviewing the show, and then we had invited you to and then I had invited you to Zombie Seinfeld after that, and I was like, I know it's not a movie, but I if you're interested in reviewing this, I'll get you a free ticket. And yeah, then ever since then we were just like, well, hey, come on, and then once we started doing the podcast, I knew that because we had a couple conversations with you for whatever reason, promoting other things or whatnot. But yeah, when we started doing the podcast, I knew that you were going to be somebody we wanted to have on as one of the recurring guests. So that's when we really started to speak more often, was when we were doing those.
Yeah. And, lots of fun. I think it's with you guys that I discovered Hitchcock's Rope, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I remember we took a fun picture at that recording.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Wow. All right. 40 is young. Yes. 40 is a baby. 65 is the new 35, says Tom Cruise. Wow.
You know what? I don't do enough running to make that qualify for my life. So
nor do I, sir. The real 40, for real, 40 plus is a great age for an indie filmmaker. 40 is film is an old person's game. Yeah, Siju, I feel like you're trying to tell us that you're old, and I refuse to believe it, sir. How long is the movie? Is it a feature? Could not tell from the first look at the Indiegogo page. Yeah, what's the projected runtime in this? I can't remember how long the script ran, but do you have an idea?
I mean, it's really hard to say because the script itself is only 100 pages, but there's songs in the movie. So, and I don't have like all of the lyrics in the script. You don't need to include full lyrics because it's not that kind of a musical. So yeah, I don't know how long it'll be. It's a comedy, so I am not of the Judd Apatow school of let's make this 2.5 hours long. Hour 40, hour 45, it would be the ideal time for a movie like this. Under 2 hours. If it's over 2 hours, I've got some stuff that I got some things that need to get snipped.
Yeah, it's weird when you're doing this kind of a hybrid genre thing, because I agree. I like shorter comedies, but I also can get into longer kind of genre films. So, you got some.
Yeah,
some
and there's definitely at least one like more horror like element in this movie. One sequence that on the page is like a paragraph, but would probably be at least 3 or 4 minutes when it's like drawn out for the suspense. So, super hard to say. I have no idea.
Yeah. All right. What's the distribution plan and budget? We're getting into the nitty gritty. So Drew is fascinated with your film. For production, looks like you'll raise that $6K soon. Hopefully, small budget.
Yeah, that's so I'm kind of just doing this in phases. Phase 1 is what this current campaign is for. I'm going to do as much that I can with this, but I know that the basically any visual effects or anything is going to have to be a completely separate campaign after we have the movie shot. So yeah, it's I wanted to set a realistic goal that I feel like I could attain. And for me, the budget of the movie is not going to stop me from making the movie. If I have $100, I'll make the best damn $100 movie I can. This is something that I feel like, given the context of the movie, most of this movie can be done very, very inexpensively. So yeah, obviously we'd love to make our goal of $6,000. We are, as of the time I checked before we went live, we were at 54% still, with a little under 2 weeks left to go. I'm not worried about making it, but I would love to exceed our goal and make, a movie with certainly even more resources. But yeah, it was just about setting a goal that's attainable for me, and my personal inner circle is not that big. So, and I've always been a very antisocial person. So, networking and stuff like that has never been a strong suit of mine. So, I was lucky enough to find all of those wonderful, talented people who came to the read through. But yeah, I working with what I've got, and gonna make the best one that I can with what I have.
That's all you can do. Got to put everything into it. Need to update my fundraising page and get it going this weekend. I shall consider watching this pod as part of the prep. All right, get some inspiration, Sejua. A good perk might be a special screening for donors. I think you can do it at Facets for like $300 theater rental. They have a 100-seat venue. Yep. So maybe $50 perk, $2,500 to $5K if it all sells. Yeah, Facets is a good one. I know Sejua's got a connection over there, so.
Yeah, I mean that's such a far out thing. But when I say I'm manifesting a breakout indie hit, I kind of also like the idea of it being like an instant cult hit too. So like, there's part of me that wants to like, maybe we just release this underground, like with just like secret screenings at first, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I truly have no idea. I'm really only thinking one step at a time. And right now it's all about getting it made. But yeah, I mean, I love the idea of just like renting out the music box and just being like, let's fill it free. Come in until the seats are gone. I'll pay for this whole damn theater. Come and see this movie.
Well, the stars may align, because I don't know if you heard the news, but the Music Box is adding a third screen.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Wow.
they got an endowment from the city of Chicago, as announced like 2 days ago, like $1.2 million to take a couple of the adjacent storefronts and turn that into a third screen, specifically because they have so much demand from like festivals and indie filmmakers and even movies that they want to hold over, but they just don't have the capacity with their two screens. So
Sure.
they're going to open up some opportunities, and maybe if when this movie's done and it might align, hey, big premiere at the new screen.
That'd be great. We'll be the first. We'll be the first on the new screen. I'll make it happen.
All right.
That's gonna be done next month. Damn it. Okay, never mind.
No, this is like a year out for the renovation. But Facets has a great main theater. I've shown 2 movies there, including a 1 week run of Werewolf Ninja Philosopher. They booked for me in 2019. That's where we met, Sejua, after that screening. That was a lot of fun. Special screening for donors can be billed as a private screening. For a semi-private screening, if it is opened up to the public a bit, won't affect Fest Play considerations typically. Congrats on working on the fundraising. That's always one of the hardest things for any filmmaker, even very experienced ones. We all hate it.
Oh God, I was just saying the other day, like I have never been one who enjoys asking for anything from anyone. So on a nightly basis, I'm washing the ick off my body of like I've had to ask so many people for money and I don't like it.
Well, once you get going, it's good. Of course, an essential thing for a movie. So yeah, a necessary evil, as it were. But yeah, well, we're just at about an hour here, but as promised, or at least mentioned earlier, I would like to show a bit of what this film is that people are going to be contributing to and helping to make a reality. So just to rewind the tape a bit, so what we're going to see is the first part of the promotional video. And that's from the proof of concept day. Is that what we're seeing?
So all of this stuff is footage that will all go into the movie eventually. This is just kind of like a sizzle reel of the stuff that we shot the first day. Give a little flavor of the movie because again, I didn't want it to just all be me talking about the movie. I want to be able to show some of it. It's a visual medium, so like I should show, not tell. So yeah, this is just a little bit of what we shot on day one.
Okay, and it also bleeds into the rest of the promo video where you are talking to Talon. So we'll kind of stop it a little bit before there, and then we'll come back on the other side of this to wrap things up. So let me see if I can do this because I am a Luddite. All right.
All right, now it's not necessarily glamorous. It's not what we're used to, you know. I may have had a cheat on my emissions test, but it'll get us through the next few weeks, and with any luck, safely. Hey, Talon, where should I put this? On the roof. Come up there. Drop these bags right here. Yeah, I did shock your granny. And I'll regret nothing. My body produces too much sperm. Calling me Orville Redding, fucker? Oh, come on! Oh, it's your birthday! Actually, she's covered in pearls! Get down! You.
there we go. Let's see. All right, and we're back. Cool. Yeah, that's fun. So you got to reshoot all that stuff when you actually get the stuff going, or are you going to incorporate it?
No, that'll probably be used. I don't. There's really once I got to the point of knowing I'd have to rent the RV, I was like, well, let's just shoot some stuff for real. You know, I don't think there'll be. Well, there's a couple things in there that will be reshot. That whole head banging scene is in the movie, but takes place in a different context. But what also with the RV. So it was that was specifically for the proof of concept only, but everything else in there most likely will end up in the movie. I'm not sure if those will be the exact takes, but those are all elements and moments from the script.
And I guess because if you can get the DP back that you contracted for the first shoot to do the entire film, I mean, I imagine that would be very helpful. Otherwise, I don't know how that all works. If you can get someone to like, hey, can you watch this segment that was filmed over a day and match it perfectly, or is it really just help to get the original like artist?
I don't know either about like how much a different camera would look like. I'm so ignorant to the actual like education of filmmaking that I'm just like, I don't know, like, will it look okay? Like, yeah, it'll look good. So yeah, I have no idea, but yeah, hopefully we will work with her again. I mean, that's the plan at least. There's depending on her schedule, she's busy. So,
all right. Well, I'm pulling for you. Let's see. I got a few more comments. Petty says the outfit is tremendous. All right. And Sajua says, nice clip. A good DP or editor can match the footage. So there you go. Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to be connecting you guys because Situa has made many features and is big in the world of fundraising and has a lot of good advice. He also says, also in post, you can do a color grade that pulls everything in together. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Do it in post, as they say. But all right, well, so thank you, Jeremy, for hanging out and going into the world of Hello Apocalypse with me. Folks, if you're watching this on the live or if you're watching this on the replay, the campaign is open, as Jeremy mentioned, for the next just under a couple of weeks. So please, if you have the beans, the interest, or just want to be a good old patron of the arts, consider making a donation, a contribution to any of the awesome tiers that are there. Actually, we should talk about those. So, Jeremy, you want to highlight some of the tiers? What can people get as far as bang for their buck?
Yeah, we've got lots of cool perks available, some of which are very exclusive. And I will say, if none of the perks appeal to you, every dollar does count. I know that's a thing that people say often with fundraisers, but that truly, like, that's not even a joke. Like, if you contribute $1, you are a new backer, and that's a piece of data that's important for the algorithm. Everything's about algorithms, you know? So like, you know, even if you're this much interested and you do say that's worth $1, that would help. But beyond that, yeah, there's basically any contribution that you make or any perk that you choose comes with a special thanks in the end credits of the movie. You can get a digital download of the movie, a physical Blu-ray copy of it. You can have some there's some producer credits you can have on the higher end, and then there's stuff like exclusive things. We have 10 remaining signed, numbered, limited edition posters. That awesome poster art that we had created that I love absolutely, like, so much. That will we have 10 more of those available. You can name a couple characters in the movie. You can name some of Marilyn's Dress's previous albums. We had the ability to name a town in the movie. Both of those got snatched up. So take advantage of these things while they're available, because they are very limited. You can get punched in the face in the movie if you are in the Chicagoland area or can make your way to the Chicagoland area. There's a very funny moment in the script where somebody punches somebody and then they go down immediately. It would be a fake punch, I assure you, but you can have that moment.
Real punches are extra, right?
Yeah.
To cover the insurance.
Yeah, we charge way more for that, to punch you real hard, roll hard. But yeah, no, so there's lots of different perks available. Like I said, some exclusive, some of them are general available. Zoom conversations with the main cast, Zoom conversation with Talon St himself. That's one that's available. So yeah, lots of different options. And again, every dollar helps, every backer helps.
Excellent. Well, I do want to ask, who did that poster? Because that is a kick-ass piece of artwork.
It was an artist that I found. His name is Lucas. I only know him as Lucas L from the communications that I've had with him, but I found him on Fiverr. Just a guy who I was like, I need a poster made. I found some artists. I liked his work, and I was like, I'm looking for kind of like a Drew Struzan style 80s, like illustrated or painted looking poster. And then he came up with the concept, and we went back and forth for a few weeks as he worked on it. And yeah, one of my favorite things that I've ever had made.
Wow. Yeah, it's really spectacular. All right. So speaking of fundraising, good up, Ian. Here's a donation for the podcast. We'll look at the Indiegogo later before the deadline. Well, thank you very much, Sajiwa. Petty kicked in some funds, me too, for 5,000 Argentinian dollars. And then, so yeah, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to be donating these funds to the Indiegogo campaign.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, because I believe in the project, and I do appreciate the warm support, Sajiwa and Petty. Yeah, this episode is not about me. It's about Jeremy and Hello Apocalypse, because damn it, I want to see this movie. And Edith Jones, kicking the seat. I've started sharing your project with my LinkedIn network to help spread the word. If you're looking for extra support from backers, consider reaching out to Helena on Fiverr. She can get you connected with potential audience. Just a helpful tip, no pressure. Okay, well, thank you. Anyway, I think we will wrap things up there. Well, I don't want to say that. That might be premature. Jeremy, do you have anything else you want to get out to our lovely audience about Hello Apocalypse?
I'm super thankful for everybody who has backed it so far, everybody who has contributed and showed their support. It is, again, an overwhelming amount of support that I didn't quite expect. And admittedly, a tiny part of me wasn't even sure that I would be worth it, you know? So it's been amazing. I'm so thankful. Yeah, if you like crazy sci-fi, if you're a fan of Spinal Tap, if you want to be a part of a breakout indie cult hit from the ground floor up, check out the page, give us a contribution, share if you can. Oh my God, one of the more important things that I completely forgot, 10% of all contributions across the campaign are going to be donated to Sky Art Chicago. Sky Art Chicago is an organization that provides free arts programs for youths and teens in the city of Chicago. 10% of anything that gets contributed, no matter what we make, is going straight to them. So you're not only going to be helping my campaign, you are helping support indie film, you're helping support the arts, and you're helping support children in Chicago.
Excellent. Yeah, I completely, in my rush of getting things ready today, I forgot to mention that. So thank you. I'm glad that it went over a little bit and you got that out because that's really cool. How did you get connected with them?
Honestly, I wanted there to be some kind of charitable element to it. You know, I that was just a desire of mine, and so I just started. I just basically looked up Chicago charities that seemed to align with my belief structure. And, you know, I don't have a lot of opinions on things. So there's not, you know, when it comes to certain charities, I'm just like, I don't know. But like, this is one that I was like, inarguably, that's a cause that I can support. So yeah, it's just something that I wanted to do as part of this campaign. Cause yeah, it's not, because I feel so guilty asking for money. I figure I should make some of this not just for me.
Well, that's honestly beautiful, man. So I'm glad you felt so compelled. And lastly, Edith says, love the project and I hope for the best also. Hearts and heart kisses. All right. Well, Jeremy, I am for real going to let you go this time. Oh, well, hold on. Reach out to all local media. All right. Yeah. So when you have, I guess, when you're ready to debut, just blast everything. Now that the fundraiser is going well. Okay, so not even when it's done. Just do it now. Do it live.
I'll have to find the resources to reach out to the local media, but that's not a bad idea. But that's another thing that just kind of feels icky. Just be like, I mean, I guess it helps promote the charity aspect of it too, but it also feels just like, hey, look at me, you know, and that's the part that I struggle with in all of this and always have. But 14 more days, I'm going to keep promoting like it's not making me feel gross.
If I could offer you some advice before you go for real, put Jeremy away and unleash the Talon for the last 2 weeks, because that's a guy I don't feel like has problems asking for anything. He just takes to excess.
You're not wrong there. Although I don't think that it'll make it to the charity if I put Talon in charge for the rest. Like, I'll just be taking this. This is mine now.
Well, before the funds are deposited, switch back to Jeremy and then you can figure it out. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, man. This has been a lot of fun. I hope folks out there enjoyed this. I hope they are, you, the audience, are inspired to help out Hello Apocalypse. And when this movie is done and when it's out, I want to come back and talk about it again and see where it all ended up and have a little bit of a party.
You will have a ticket for whatever premiere we have, even if it's in my home.
Hey, I'll take it. All right. Well, Jeremy Eden, thank you so much. Is there anything else, any other place people can find you as far as like socials or following you, or is the Indiegogo the best place to go?
Indiegogo right now is going to be the the most important thing that you can look up. There's also, if you listen to podcasts, you like movie podcasts, 90 Under 90 is still going. We did 3 full seasons of 90 movies under 90 minutes. And then we started to release our old Patreon 90 over 90 episodes. So we've switched to a monthly format right now just because we've been so busy, but we do have a huge backlog of episodes that are still coming out. So that's still active. And if you are at all interested in sodas and or belches, Soda Review Dude on TikTok. I review sodas for fun, for no reason at all.
I did not know that. I got to get back on TikTok just to see what that's all about.
It's pretty funny. I end every review with a giant burp before I give my score.
Well, I won't.
And then, of course,
I'm sorry,
and then an intervention and the Golden Apron too. Those are the 2 most recent things that I've done that I'm in, directed by my brother Dan. An intervention is usually available on Prime, or at least it was recently. You could find out where that's streaming. And like I said, Golden Apron on Filmzy and Fossum.
Excellent. All right. Well, Jeremy Eden, thanks again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks everybody for hanging out and donating. And if you're watching this live or in the future, we greatly appreciate it. So until next time, like and subscribe and ring the bells and all that good stuff. And until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thank you very much and take care.